Leon is using the Mauser C96 Red 9, massive Red 9 on the stock. We're seeing Leon correctly use the action to pump it down and then forwards. Hi, I'm Alex Pitts from the Combined Military Services Museum. I take care of the collection of over 600 firearms, and I've been involved with firearms for well over 10 years now. And today we're looking at the weapons from Resident Evil 4. So we've got the classic 1911 A1. We can see that it's the Terminator version, where we've got a ginormous laser dot pointer on the very top of it.
The 45 long slide with laser sighting.
Just touch the trigger, the beam comes on, and you put the red dot where you want the bullet to go.
This came from the time period where laser pointers were about that size, so it makes perfect sense. It's been called a 45 Magnum, but I will say the box is correct. These are 45 ACP pistols. Again, not a Magnum cartridge, but it's definitely a very powerful cartridge. A lot of people rely on it because of how powerful these can be. They're very heavy, hard-hitting rounds. The energy we can see coming from the cartridge seems to be able to go through targets and then hit a target behind that. These are very slow cartridges that are meant to disperse a lot of the energy once it's hit the target, as opposed to penetrating and going all the way through. So I wouldn't say that it would do that, but this would definitely put people down in a single shot. Very powerful. So we've got the RPG-7 being used in-game. It's shown as having a scope on it, which does exist. The more modern RPG-7s in use, especially by the Russian Armed Forces, will have scopes on them for more accurate fire. We can see that it's been used against people. For the most part, RPGs are an anti-vehicle weapon. You can get anti-personnel rounds for them, but it's not a very effective thing. But for video games, for even films, everyone loves a rocket launcher. They're really cool. They make big bangs, lots of flames. You can't go wrong with it. Doesn't look directly exactly like any pistol I can think of. It's definitely got some influences of a handful of different weapons. I'd say probably the H&K USP is more than likely the main influence to it. The slide looks pretty similar to it. I have noticed on the grips on the sides look like they're wood with then some sort of plastic grip over the top of the wood. Whether it's for effect or whether it's supposed to make it more accurate, maybe it's an upgrade or something, I'm unsure, but I don't think I've ever seen anything similar to it before. Doesn't seem like we can aim down the sights in the game, and we use laser pointers for everything. Whether that was a limit at the time, seems like a fairly realistic looking pistol. Leon is using the Mauser C96 Red 9, massive Red 9 on the stock. This was put in so that people didn't put the wrong ammunition into the gun. The original guns weren't in 9mm. These ones were changed to 9mm as a military purchase by the German army during World War I when they started running out of Luger pistols. The reload, I will say I'm quite impressed by. I assumed most games were going to get the reload wrong on this one by having a box magazine come out from the bottom. As seen in the game quite correctly, a stripper clip goes in through the top when the bolt is rearwards. As much as that's very well done, I will say Leon seems to just flick the pistol backwards and the stripper clip that was holding the rounds just flies out and the bolt goes forwards. Unfortunately, not the case. With that, you have to manually pull it out yourself. They are jammed in there because it stops the bolt from going forwards, so it's under a lot of spring tension. We can see that this one is stocked, like the one in the game. This is also a holster. Where the hole in the top is, you can actually put the pistol inside this as a holster. So the stock comes off the back like that. There's a button here that opens up the back, and in there you can place the pistol. We've got a nice little package there that can also be used as a stock, and maybe in Leon's case, he can also use it to hit something over the head with it. So We've got the Matilda, which resembles a H&K VP70M. As correctly displayed in the game, it does have a burst fire capability, and the rate of fire does sound quite accurate. It's about 2,200 rounds per minute, very, very fast. The idea being all 3 shots will land in almost the exact same place. Interestingly enough, I will say that the trigger pull on the VP70 is very lengthy because of the burst fire. You have to pull the trigger really hard before it starts to fire, so it does get a bit downgraded for the accuracy of it. It doesn't seem to have affected much of the gameplay. I remember this being the starting weapon in Resident Evil 2. No! So fond memories of that one. So we've got a variation of the Remington 870, one of the most popular and common shotguns on the planet. Leon seems to have another laser sight affixed to it. Again, I think going off my theory that looking down the iron sights wasn't something they were intended to put in the game, or maybe it wasn't something that was able to be put in the game. Depending on what type of shot you're using in a shotgun, so these can use slugs, birdshot, buckshot, different varieties of cartridge, as the chamber's big enough to take Magnum 12 gauge shotgun shells. So I would imagine to make that kind of wound on someone, they'd have to be using possibly slugs, Magnum slugs. The recoil tends to be quite excessive, but again, if you're using a cartridge of that size, they are going to kick back quite hard. And it's definitely a perfect choice for shotgun. Everyone likes a pump action. You just can't go wrong with it. And you can't go wrong with a Remington 870. We're seeing Leon correctly use the action to pump it down, which opens up the chamber there. And then forwards, which then loads your round in, and you're ready to fire at that point as the firearm is cocked. So with the reload on this, typical with almost every pump action shotgun, when it's empty, you can cock the shotgun back, put 1 round into the chamber, and then you feed from a gate under here, which opens like this. You would load your shells in like that go into this tube under here. So this loads all the way there. The 6 shot capacity is about right, but we noticed that he's only loaded 2 shells in, and then we've got 6. In competition shooting, some shooters have learnt to hold multiple cartridges in their hand and load all of them in one go. It does take a hell of a lot of practice, and it's really for the professional target shooters to be using these. So I would imagine he is individually loading the shells in, and the reload's just been a bit glazed over. I would definitely give it good points on its choice of weapons, the look of the weapons, especially the reload with the Red 9. I didn't know games from, I think, about 2000 could even do graphics in that sense to show an entire stripper clip as opposed to a box magazine. It's good that they've done it that way rather than making up their own version of the reload. Hopefully in the upcoming remake of Resident Evil 4, we'll see these weapons reappear in the game with a fresh lick of paint and maybe a few of the mechanics changed around to maybe make them either more realistic in the sense that they would actually function correctly, or true to the real life versions of the weapons. Either way, I'm sure they'll come up with a good idea for it.
For more videos like this one, make sure to check out our IGN Expert Reacts playlist or our videos on the chainsaw demo and 8 exciting new details coming to the remake.